All right, everyone. Our topic today is vectors. We have two kinds of physical quantities. Those ones that only have magnitudes, and those ones that have both magnitude and direction. Those ones that only have magnitude, they are called the scalar quantities. While those ones that have both magnitude and direction, they are called the vector quantities. Vector quantity, that's what they are called. So these are the two kinds of physical quantities that we have. We have several examples under the scalar quantities, and we also have several examples under the vector quantity. Examples under scalar quantities are quantities like your length, like your volume, like area, like mass, and many more. While examples under vector quantities are velocity, displacement, acceleration, force, momentum, and many others. Now let's quickly talk about vector notation. Now, how do you represent vector? Now, in printed work, the vector is shown using bold letters. That's how we represent vector in printed works, like in your textbooks and the likes. So we represent vector using bold letter. While in written works, the one that you write in your notes, or those ones that you use your pen to write, vector is shown by a letter with a bar underneath, just like this. Let's say we want to write vector A, they will put a bar underneath it. So this is how we represent vector in written. So we want to write something all about vector. So when I write something like this, vector V, so everybody knows that this is a vector. Now there are some terminologies that we need to consider as far as vector is concerned. The first term when vector is being talked about is called the magnitude of vectors. Magnitudes of vectors. That's the first term to consider when talking about vector. And what is the magnitude of vector? The magnitude of a vector is sometimes called the modulus of the vector. So you can call it the modulus. So modulus of vector is also known as the magnitude of a vector. So the magnitude of vector, let's say vector A, the magnitude of vector A is represented by the absolute value of A. This is how we represent the magnitude or the modulus of any vector. If you are to represent the magnitude or the modulus of vector B, we do the same thing. This is the magnitude of vector B. We can do the same thing for vector C or for any other named vector. So this is how we represent vector. The other term that we need to consider as far as vector is concerned is called the zero vector. The zero vector. The zero vector. The zero vector is a vector with a magnitude of 0. It is a vector with magnitude of 0. The value is 0. Magnitude of 0. 0 magnitude. And that is what we call the zero vector. It is also sometimes it can be called the null vector. Can also be called null vectors. So whenever you hear the word null vector, same thing as zero vector. Then the next term that we need to consider as far as vector is concerned is called the unit vector. the unit vectors. The unit vectors. That's the next terminology we need to talk about. The unit vector is represented or is given by, say, let's say vector A. Vector A, then we put a sign like this at the top. So anytime you see a vector having a sign like this from the top, it is known as the unit vector. So a unit vector is giving us the vector itself over the modulus or the magnitude of the vector. So the unit vector of vector A is giving us vector A itself divided by the modulus or the magnitude of vector A. We also have other types of vectors. We have the negative vector. The negative vector. A negative vector of vector A is negative vector. Negative vector. Negative vector. The negative vector of vector A is the vector which has the same magnitude as that of vector A, but in a direction that is opposite that of vector A. So a negative vector is a vector that have the same magnitude as a vector that we are looking at, but is having the opposite direction, but the direction is just opposite as the vector you are looking at. So, and let's say we have considering vector A. Now the negative vector of vector A will be written as negative A. Negative vector. Another terminology we have to consider is called the equality of vector. Equality of vector. Equality of vector. Two vectors, A and B, are said to be equal. So two vectors, A and vector B, are said to be equal if they have the same magnitude and direction. If they have the same magnitude and direction. They have the same magnitude and direction. That is, if they have the same value and they are moving in the same direction, then we can consider the two vectors as equal vectors. So vectors are said to be equal if they have the same magnitude and the same direction. So that our video is not going to be too long, so let us round up with this. This is just the introduction to vectors. So in our next class, we're going to be looking at the topic addition and subtraction of vectors. Stay blessed till then.